The ad looked like a trap. 6 figures for tutoring a teenager. Room and board included. Background check required, but no interview necessary. Isla Hartley stared at her phone screen in the campus library, the glow illuminating the dark circles under her eyes from working 3 jobs while maintaining a 4.0 in her education program. Her roommate Jenna leaned over, whistled low at the salary number, then immediately launched into true crime podcast theories about human trafficking rings and organ harvesting operations. But 6 months of tuition sat in that number. 6 months of not choosing between textbooks and groceries. 6 months of actually sleeping instead of pulling doubles at the diner after morning classes. She called the number. A woman answered on the second ring. Professional. Efficient. Asked about qualifications with the briskness of someone who'd already made the decision and was simply checking boxes. Education major dean's list. 3 years tutoring experience, clean background check. The woman, Mrs. Rosa, head of household, scheduled a car for Monday morning. Not a rideshare, a private car with a driver. Jenna watched Isla pack a bag Sunday night with the expression of someone mentally rehearsing what to tell the police. The town car arrived at 8 sharp. Black luxury windows tinted dark enough to be illegal in most states. The driver held the door without smiling, silent for the entire 40-minute drive into Massachusetts hill country, where estates sprawled behind iron gates and old money whispered instead of shouted. The Valenti estate rose from manicured grounds like something transplanted from another era. Stone and glass modern architecture softened by climbing ivy and ancient oaks. 3 stories wings spreading east and west from a central atrium visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Gardens that definitely employed a full-time staff. A fountain in the circular drive where water danced over marble that probably cost more than Isla's entire college education. Mrs. Rosa waited at the entrance. 50s elegant in a way that spoke of European roots and American polish. Her handshake was firm, her smile measured her assessment complete in 3 seconds. Inside, the foyer opened to soaring ceilings and art that might be original. Probably was original. The kind of wealth that didn't announce itself because it didn't need to. Everything whispered, taste, power, permanence. Mrs. Rosa led her through rooms Isla couldn't name. A library with books to the ceiling. A music room housing a grand piano that gleamed unused. A kitchen designed for professional chefs but somehow still warm, lived in the heart of the house despite its size. The study where she'd work with Reed occupied the south wing. Afternoon light, comfortable furniture shelves stocked with textbooks and novels, a desk large enough for 2, windows overlooking gardens that probably bloomed in sequence from March through October. Mrs. Rosa's tour came with rules delivered in a voice that brooked no argument. Reed's bedroom upstairs off limits without permission. The east wing housed Mr. Valenti's office, never to be entered uninvited. Staff quarters in the north annex. Guest rooms on the 2nd floor if Isla chose to stay over rather than commute. The way she said it, if not when, suggested the choice had already been made by someone else. Reed would arrive from school at 3. Mr. Valenti kept irregular hours but always checked on his brother at night. No questions about the business. No wandering the house after 10. Focus on academics. Maintain structure. Provide stability for a boy who'd lost his father 6 months ago. Isla was examining the study's bookshelves when footsteps approached. Not Mrs. Rosa's heels. Heavier. Measured. The kind of walk that owned every space it entered. She turned. Dominic Valenti stood in the doorway like he'd been carved from stone and taught to move. 32. According to the minimal background she'd found online, but he wore it in a way that suggested he'd been born serious. Dark suit tailored to emphasize shoulders that didn't need emphasizing. White shirt open of the collar. No tie. Hair pushed back from a face too angular to be classically handsome, but arresting in a way that made classical beauty seem boring. Gray eyes assessed her with the same efficiency Mrs. Rosa had employed. Cataloging. Calculating. Coming to conclusions Isla couldn't read. His voice when he spoke carried the kind of authority that came from never being questioned. You're the tutor. Not a question. A statement of fact. Isla extended her hand anyway, forcing professionalism into her spine. Isla Hartley, Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Valenti. His hand engulfed hers, warm, calloused in places that suggested he did more than sign paperwork. The contact lasted exactly long enough to be polite no longer. You look young. Heat crept up her neck. This again. Always this. I'm 20, but my credentials, I rid them. He moved into the study presence, filling the space the way expensive cologne filled a room. Subtle. Inescapable. What I need to know is whether you can handle Reed. He's brilliant when he wants to be. Right now, he doesn't want to be. The shift in his voice on that last sentence caught her. Pain carefully controlled. Grief expertly hidden. This wasn't about grades or college prep. This was about a man trying to save his brother from drowning. Isla met his eyes without flinching. I lost my father when I was 12, 6th grade. Stopped doing homework for 8 months because nothing felt like it mattered anymore. Something flickered in Dominic's expression. Not sympathy, recognition. What changed? My English teacher, Mrs. Patterson. She didn't push, didn't lecture, just showed up every day and sat with me during lunch. Didn't try to fix me, just existed in the space until I was ready to exist again. Dominic studied her for a long moment. The air between them felt charged somehow, static before a storm. You'll start today. Reed gets home at 3:15. Don't let him charm you into skipping work. He's exceptional at manipulation when motivated. I'll manage. We'll see. He moved toward the door, paused with his hand on the frame, looked back. Mrs. Rosa will handle your contract. Room and board are included if you want them. Saves commute time. The way he said it suggested he already knew about her shared apartment. The background check had been thorough. Isla kept her voice neutral. I have a place that you share with 2 other girls in a space meant for one. Matter of fact. No judgment, just data. The offer stands. Guest room on the 2nd floor, private bath, better than campus housing. He left before she could respond. Left her standing in the study with her heart doing things it had no business doing over a man who was her employer, who'd clearly investigated every aspect of her life, who moved through this world like danger wrapped in expensive tailoring. Reed appeared at 3:17, lanky in that teenage way where limbs seemed too long for the body, dark hair that desperately needed cutting, eyes the same gray as his brother's but younger, still capable of hope despite the shadows underneath. He dropped his backpack like it weighed 50 pounds. You're the new tutor. Great. Another person Dom hired to fix me. Isla settled into the chair across from him without rising to the bait. I'm not here to fix you. You're not broken. That got his attention. Surprise flickered across his features. Sure I'm not. That's why I'm failing sophomore year. You're failing because your father died and school feels pointless right now. That's grief, not deficiency. Reed's jaw tightened. Isla recognized that look, the struggle between wanting to talk and being terrified to start. She pulled out her planner, flipped to a clean page. Here's how this works. I show up every day, do my job. Whether you decide to do yours is entirely up to you. If you engage, great. If not, I still get paid. A smile tugged at his mouth despite himself. Dom's going to hate that answer. He expects results. Your brother doesn't have to like my methods, just my outcomes. You're different than the last 3. There were 3 before me. Yeah, one lasted 2 weeks. One made it a month. The last one quit after Dom yelled at her for letting me skip an assignment. Reed leaned back, testing her. He's very intense about my education. Sounds like he cares. He's overprotective. There's a difference. Isla thought about the way Dominic's voice had changed talking about his brother, the grief under the authority. Maybe, but at least you have someone who cares that much. Reed's expression softened. Mrs. Rosa had mentioned Isla's father. Of course, Reed would know too. Nothing happened in this house without Dominic's awareness. Yeah, I guess I do. He opened his backpack. So, what are we starting with, math, English? The essay I was supposed to finish last week. English first, then math, then we'll see about bribery snacks. His grin was genuine now. Bribery snacks? People work better with food incentive, basic psychology. Reed pulled out his English folder with something approaching enthusiasm. "You're going to fit in here just fine, Isla." The next 2 weeks fell into rhythm, mornings helping Reed prepare for school, afternoons working through assignments, essays, exam prep. Dinners sometimes with just Reed, sometimes with Dominic joining them when business allowed. Isla noticed things. The way men in dark suits appeared at odd hours for meetings in the East Wing. How everyone moved carefully around Dominic like he was something beautiful and dangerous that might break if handled wrong. The security cameras, the guards who weren't called guards, the conversations that stopped when she entered rooms. Reed dodged her questions with practiced ease. "What does your brother do exactly? Business." "What kind of business?" "The kind where you don't ask questions." Reed didn't look up from his calculus. "Trust me, it's easier that way." She should have been worried, should have recognized red flags for what they were, but Reed needed her, and Dominic watched her. Not obviously, not creepily, but she felt his attention like heat from a fire. The way his eyes tracked her across rooms, how he always seemed to know when she was in the kitchen appearing for coffee at exactly the right moment. The small protections that accumulated like snow, fresh flowers in the study, her favorite tea stocked without her mentioning it. His jacket draped over her shoulders one cool evening when they'd talked on the terrace longer than planned. 3 weeks in working late to help Reed finish a project, Isla found herself staying over when midnight arrived and the commute back to campus seemed suddenly dangerous. Mrs. Rosa provided pajamas. Silk, expensive, definitely not something Isla would ever buy herself. The guest room was exactly as advertised, private, comfortable. Windows overlooking gardens that looked ethereal in moonlight. She couldn't sleep. Too aware of the house around her, the wealth, the power, the man 3 doors down the hall who made her pulse jump every time he entered a room. At 12:30 she gave up and headed downstairs for water. Just water. Maybe a snack because her brain wouldn't shut off long enough to rest. The nightgown felt perfectly innocent in the guest room. Delicate lace, modest length, nothing scandalous. But in the hallway under the dim lighting that gave everything a golden glow, suddenly it felt thin, revealing, wrong for wandering around someone else's house at midnight. She was 3 steps from the kitchen when she heard footsteps. Heavy, measured, coming from the opposite direction. Dominic appeared in the corridor like he'd manifested from shadow. Dark suit despite the hour. Tie loosened, but still present. Hair slightly disheveled in a way that suggested he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. He looked like he'd just walked out of a meeting that involved things she definitely didn't want to know about. He stopped when he saw her. His eyes tracked down slowly, deliberately, from her face to the thin strap on her shoulder to the lace hem that barely reached mid-thigh, then back up, taking his time, making sure she knew he was looking. The air changed, got heavier. Charged with something Isla didn't have a name for but felt in every nerve ending. Her name in his voice sounded different, lower, rougher, like he was struggling with something. "Isla, what are you doing out here?" "I couldn't sleep, wanted water." In that. Heat flooded her face. She looked down. Oh God, the hallway light behind her. She hadn't realized. The lace was practically transparent. Dominic moved closer. Not fast. Predatory. The way wolves move when they know their prey can't escape. "Do you have any idea how many men are in this house right now?" "Your security team?" "Exactly." He was in front of her now. Too close. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar, and something darker, something that made her stomach flip. "Men who work for me. Men who would never dare. But you're making it very difficult for them to remember that." Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was wrong. Inappropriate. He was her employer. She was here for Reed. But she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, could only watch as his hand came up and landed on the wall beside her head, caging her. His other hand followed, trapping her between his arms and the wallpaper that probably cost more than her semester's tuition. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean..." "Didn't mean what?" His eyes were so dark they looked black. "Didn't mean to walk around looking like that. Didn't mean to make me forget every rule I set for myself about you. The words punched through her like bullets. What rules? The ones that say you're off limits, that you're here for Reed, that I don't touch innocent girls who don't know what they're getting into. Innocent. The word felt like an accusation and a compliment tangled together. I'm 20 years old. Exactly. His thumb brushed her jaw. Just a whisper of contact, but it sent electricity straight down her spine. 20. Young enough to run, smart enough to know you should, and standing here anyway like you don't understand what I am. And what are you? His smile was brief, lethal, nothing kind in it. Dangerous, wrong for you in every way that matters, someone you should be afraid of. I'm not afraid. You should be. They stood there, his hands on the wall, his body close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him. Her back pressed against wallpaper, heart trying to beat out of her chest. The words came out rough, raw, like they were being torn from somewhere deep. If you provoke me like that again in that nightgown, I don't know if I'll continue being a gentleman. Isla's mouth went dry. I didn't do anything. Exactly the problem. He leaned closer. His breath against her ear made her knees weak. You don't have to do anything, you just exist in my space, and suddenly every rule I've lived by for 32 years stops making sense. Dominic, go back to your room, Isla. His voice was still low, but there was steel underneath now. Command, not request. Before I do something we'll both regret. Would you regret it? The question hung between them, his eyes locked on hers. For one heartbeat, too, she thought he might kiss her, might close that last inch of distance and make every rational thought in her head evaporate. Instead, he dropped his hands and stepped back. Created space she should be grateful for, but somehow resented. Go. Not a request. She went. But she felt his eyes on her the entire walk back to her room, felt them like a physical touch burning into her spine. When she closed the door and leaned against it, heart still racing, one thought consumed her. What just happened? Sleep proved impossible. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, felt the ghost of his thumb on her jaw, heard his voice promising things he shouldn't promise. If you provoke me like this again. She hadn't been trying to provoke him, hadn't known the nightgown would be see-through in the hallway light, but the way he'd looked at her like she was something dangerous and desirable and completely forbidden made her skin burn even now. This was bad. This was so incredibly bad. She'd come here for a job, a simple tutoring position that paid absurdly well and let her stay in school. She'd come to help a lonely teenager with his homework, not to feel this way about his older brother, his very attractive, very dangerous, very clearly complicated older brother. Morning came too fast. Isla dragged herself to the kitchen at 7, expecting the usual quiet. Instead, she found Dominic already there, running clothes. T-shirt clinging to shoulders that should be illegal. Hair damp with sweat from whatever workout made men look like that. He stopped when he saw her. For one heartbeat, neither of them moved. The hallway incident hung between them like smoke. Then his voice perfectly normal, professional, like last night hadn't happened. Good morning, Isla. Morning. She focused very hard on pouring coffee, grateful for something to do with her hands. Reed will be down in 10 minutes. Good. He has an essay due tomorrow. We'll finish it today. I know. He grabbed a water bottle from the fridge. You're good at your job. Thank you. That's why I hired you. He was looking at her now. She could feel it. Not for any other reason. Remember that. The words should have felt like a dismissal, a reminder to stay in her lane. Instead, they felt like a man trying to convince himself of something he didn't quite believe. He left before she could respond, but as he passed, his hand brushed her lower back. So brief it could have been an accident. Except his fingers lingered for half a second too long. Definitely not an accident. Reed appeared right on schedule, backpack slung over one shoulder, hair still wet from his shower, that teenage scowl that didn't quite hide how perceptive he was. Morning, Isla. He slid into his chair. Is Dom being weird? She nearly choked on her coffee. What? He's being weird. Reed stole a piece of toast. Ever since you started working here, he gets all tense when you're around. I think he likes you." Heat flooded her face. "Luca, I don't think—" "I'm not imagining it." He grinned. 15 years old and far too observant. He only gets that look when he's trying not to want something, and right now he's trying really hard not to want you. We should focus on your essay. You're blushing. You totally like him back. Reed, this is amazing. Isla has a crush on my scary brother. He's not scary." She stopped herself. Too late. Reed's grin went nuclear. "You do like him. Oh man, this is the best thing that's happened since Dad died." The casual mention of his father sobered them both. Reed's smile faded into something more thoughtful. "I mean it, though. You're good for him. He's been dead inside since Dad. Just work all the time. No smiling, no living. Then you showed up and suddenly he's—" He paused, searching for words. "Human again." Something in Isla's chest tightened. "Reed, I'm here to help you, that's all." "Sure. But you make him happy too. I've seen it." His voice dropped, sincere in a way that made her throat tight. "You make this house feel less empty." The day passed in a blur of algebra and essay editing. Isla tried to focus on Reed's work, tried not to be constantly aware of every sound in the house, tried not to wonder if Dominic was back from his meetings, tried not to care, failed spectacularly on all counts. At 6, she was packing up when footsteps approached. Not Reed's, his. Dominic appeared in the doorway, changed from running clothes into dark jeans and a black sweater, looking unfairly good for someone who'd been in meetings all day. Reed finished his essay, sent to his teacher an hour ago. "Good." He leaned against the doorframe. "Do you have dinner plans?" Her heart stuttered. No. "Family dinner. 7. You're joining us." Not a request. Isla tried to find her voice. "I don't think—" "Reed specifically asked for you to stay." His eyes held hers, testing, challenging, seeing if she'd back down. "And I don't deny my brother much." "Okay then." "Good." He straightened, started to leave. Paused. "Isla." "Yes." "Wear whatever you want." His eyes tracked over her deliberately. But maybe something less provocative than last night. Then he was gone, leaving her standing there, face burning, pulse racing, and the terrible knowledge that she was in way over her head. And the worst part, she didn't want to leave. Dinner proved to be intimate, just the 3 of them at a table designed for 12. Reed dominated conversation with stories from school, deliberately including Isla making her laugh with impressions of his teachers. Dominic watched them both with something in his expression she couldn't name. Satisfaction, maybe, or relief that his brother could still find joy. After Reed disappeared upstairs to finish homework, Dominic poured wine, offered her a glass. "I don't usually—" "You're 20, legal for 3 months according to your file." Of course he knew her birthday. The background check had been thorough. Isla accepted the glass, sipped, something red and expensive that probably cost more than her monthly rent. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dominic spoke, voice quieter than usual. "Thank you for what you're doing with Reed." "I'm just doing my job." "You're doing more than your job." He leaned back, studying her. "You care about him. Not because I'm paying you, because that's who you are." The words made something warm bloom in her chest. "He's a good kid. Smart. Funny when he lets himself be." "He is." Dominic's expression softened. "Our father would have loved seeing you work with him. He always believed education was the way out." "Out of what?" The question came before she could stop it. Dominic's eyes sharpened. Then he smiled. Nothing warm in it. "The family business, which you're smart enough not to ask about." Isla set down her wine glass. "I know something's not right. The security, the meetings at odd hours, the way everyone moves around you. And yet you're still here. Reed needs me. Just Reed." The question hung between them, loaded, dangerous. Isla met his eyes. "I don't know anymore." Honesty, raw and unfiltered. Dominic's expression shifted. Something hungry moved behind his careful control. "You should know." He stood, moved around the table, stopped beside her chair, close enough to touch but not touching. "You should know exactly what you're getting into before this goes any further." Before what goes further, his hand came up, cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone like he had in the hallway. "This. Us. Whatever's building between us that we're both trying to ignore." Isla's breath caught. "Dominic, I run organized crime operations in Boston. My father built this empire. Legal fronts, legitimate businesses, but underneath—" He paused, made sure she understood. "Underneath it's protection rackets, controlled smuggling, arrangements with people who don't operate in daylight. I've hurt people, killed people when necessary. I'll do it again to protect what's mine." The confession should have terrified her, should have sent her running. Instead, all she could think about was the way he looked at Reed every night, the gentleness in his hands despite the violence they were capable of. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm falling for you." The words came out rough, like they hurt. "And you need to know exactly what you'd be getting into before that goes any further." Her heart stopped, actually stopped. "You're what?" "Falling for you. Have been since the moment you walked into this house and talked about Mrs. Patterson and grief and understanding what Reed needs." His other hand came up, framing her face. "Since you refused to be intimidated by any of this, since you made my brother laugh for the first time in 6 months." Isla couldn't breathe. "I'm a criminal, Isla. I've done things that would make you sick. I live in a world where trust gets you killed and weakness is exploited." His voice dropped. "But you look at me like I'm human, like I'm more than the empire I run, and I don't know what to do with that, except want more of it." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying this is your choice. Stay and accept that what's between us is real and dangerous and complicated. Or leave. I'll pay out your contract, give you references, help you find another position." His thumbs brushed her cheeks. "But staying here near me knowing what I am, that's a decision you need to make with full information." Isla's mind raced. This was insane. He'd just confessed to being a crime boss, to killing people, to running operations that were probably federal offenses. But he'd also just confessed to falling for her. "And if I stay—" Something dark and hungry flashed in his eyes. "Then you're mine. Completely. Because I don't do casual, Isla. I don't do halfway. If you stay knowing what I am, I'll take that as permission to pursue what's been building between us." Her heart hammered. "That's a lot of pressure." "It's honesty." He leaned closer. "I've spent 3 weeks trying to be appropriate, trying to keep distance, trying to pretend I don't think about you constantly." His forehead touched hers. "I'm done pretending. So decide. Stay and be mine, or leave and be safe." The choice should have been obvious. Any rational person would leave, would run from the danger and complication and moral ambiguity. But Isla thought about Reed's smile, about Dominic's vulnerability under all that armor, about how alive she felt in this house despite, or maybe because of the danger. She thought about Mrs. Patterson, about showing up every day, about existing in the space until something fundamental shifted. Her hands came up, rested on his chest, felt his heart racing under her palms. "I'm staying." His eyes closed briefly, relief and hunger and something deeper moving across his features. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified, but I'm sure." "Good." He pulled back just enough to see her face. "Because I meant what I said in the hallway. You're mine now, Isla, and I protect what's mine." Then he kissed her, soft at first, testing, his lips gentle against hers like she might break. Then something ignited. His hands slid into her hair. Her fingers gripped his sweater. The kiss deepened, turned desperate, became something that felt like falling and flying simultaneously. When they finally separated, both breathless, he whispered against her mouth, "No going back now." Isla smiled against his lips. "Good." The kiss changed everything and nothing. Dominic pulled back first, forehead still pressed to hers, breathing unsteady in a way that made Isla's chest tighten with something between triumph and terror. His hands remained tangled in her hair like he couldn't quite force himself to let go completely. "You need to understand what you just agreed to." His voice carried an edge she hadn't heard before. Not anger, something rawer. "I don't share. I don't do casual. And I sure as hell don't let go once I claim something as mine." Isla's pulse thundered in her ears. "I heard you the first time. Hearing and understanding are different things." He stepped back, creating inches of space that felt like miles. "This world I live in, it doesn't forgive mistakes, doesn't give second chances. People who get close to me become targets. Then why tell me to stay?" The question stopped him. For a moment, vulnerability flickered across features usually locked in careful control. "Because I'm selfish. Because 20 years of discipline just evaporated the moment you walked through that door in your teaching credentials and sensible shoes." His laugh came out harsh. "Because Reed looks at you like you hung the moon and I can't remember the last time I saw him happy." He moved to the window overlooking gardens, now dark except for landscape lighting that turned everything silver and shadow. "My father died because someone close betrayed him, sold information to rivals who wanted his territory. I watched him bleed out in this house because he trusted the wrong person." Ice flooded Isla's veins. "Dominic, so when I say you're mine, when I say I protect what's mine," he turned back, eyes hard as granite, "I mean I'll burn down anyone who threatens you. I'll cross lines I've managed to avoid for a decade. I'll become exactly the monster everyone already thinks I am." The declaration should have frightened her. Instead, warmth spread through her chest. "I'm not asking you to be a monster." "You won't have to ask. It's what I am." He crossed back to her hand, cupping her jaw with surprising gentleness. "But with you I want to be something else, something better, and I have no idea if that's even possible." Isla covered his hand with hers. "Then we figure it out together." His kiss this time was different, slower, deeper, like he was memorizing the taste of her, the shape of her mouth, the way she fit against him. When he finally pulled away, his thumb traced her lower lip. "Go to bed, Isla, before I forget every rule about appropriate employer behavior." She went, but she felt his eyes tracking her all the way to the stairs. The next morning the entire household knew. Isla saw it in the way staff stepped aside when she and Dominic entered rooms together. How Mrs. Rose's smile turned knowing over breakfast. The security team's subtle shift from neutral observation to active protection whenever Isla moved through the house. Reed burst into the study at 3:15 with the biggest grin she'd seen yet. "Finally. I thought you two would dance around each other forever." Heat flooded Isla's face. It's not. Please. Dom kissed you last night. I heard you guys talking in the dining room." He dropped into his chair, still grinning. About time he stopped being an idiot about his feelings. "Your brother is complicated. My brother is gone for you. Has been since week 1. Reed pulled out his biology textbook. "But he's also terrified something will happen to you because of who he is. So just don't give up on him when he gets overprotective and weird. Okay?" The insight from a 15-year-old shouldn't have landed so hard. But Reed had lived with Dominic's particular brand of protective intensity his entire life. "I won't give up." "Good. Because you're the best thing that's happened to this family in a long time." That evening, Dominic appeared in the study doorway at 6, with an expression that sent butterflies rioting through Isla's stomach. "Dinner. 8 o'clock. Just us." Reed made exaggerated gagging noises. "Gross. You're taking her on an actual date." "You have a problem with that." "Nope. Just pointing out you're being romantic. It's disturbing and adorable simultaneously." Reed grabbed his stuff. "Have fun. Use protection. Don't do anything I wouldn't do." Dominic's glare could have melted steel. "You're 15. You wouldn't do anything." "Exactly my point." He fled before Dominic could respond. Isla bit back a laugh as Dominic ran a hand through his hair, composure cracking around the edges. "He's impossible." "He's happy. First time I've seen him like this. Something shifted in Dominic's expression. Because of you, you gave him that. He moved into the study close enough that Isla could smell his cologne. Gave us both something we didn't know we needed. His hand found hers, fingers threading together. 8 o'clock. Wear something comfortable. And Isla, yes, this is me trying to do this right. Courtship, romance, all the things I've never bothered with before. His voice dropped. Because you deserve more than stolen kisses in hallways. The restaurant occupied a converted warehouse in downtown Boston. Exposed brick Edison bulbs, privacy screens between tables that created intimate spaces within the larger room, the kind of place that cost a month's rent for a single meal and didn't advertise because people who could afford it already knew. Dominic's hand stayed on her lower back as the host led them to a corner table. Possessive, claiming, making it clear to anyone watching that Isla was with him. They ordered wine she couldn't pronounce and food she'd never heard of. But Dominic walked her through the menu with patience that surprised her, explaining dishes without condescension, asking what flavors she liked instead of ordering for her. "You're good at this." He raised an eyebrow over his wine glass. "Dinner. Making me feel like I belong in places like this." She gestured at the restaurant. "I've never been somewhere that doesn't list prices on the menu." "You belong anywhere you choose to be." His hand found hers across the table. "Money doesn't determine worth, Isla. Character does. And you have more character in your little finger than most people I know have in their entire body." The compliment landed warm in her chest. "How did you end up here, running your father's empire?" Dominic's expression shuddered briefly. Then he made a visible decision to trust her with truth. "I was supposed to go to law school, had acceptance letters from Harvard, Yale, Columbia. Dad wanted me to be the legitimate face of the family. Use my education to clean up the operations transition, everything legal." He paused, swirled wine in his glass. "Then someone killed him. Car bomb in the driveway while Reed was at school. I was 26, halfway through my first year at Harvard. Came home for the funeral and never left." Isla's throat tightened. "You gave up law school for Reed." "I gave up everything for Reed. He was 9 years old, traumatized, asking why Dad wasn't coming back." Dominic's jaw clenched. Someone had to step up, run the business, keep the wolves from circling a family they thought was vulnerable. "So you became what they feared." "I became what was necessary." He met her eyes. "I'm not proud of everything I've done. The violence, the compromises, the lines I've crossed. But I kept Reed safe, kept this family intact, and I'd do it all again without hesitation." The fierce protectiveness in his voice made something crack open in Isla's chest. "What did you want? Before all this?" The question seemed to surprise him, like no one had asked in years. "I wanted to teach. Constitutional law, maybe. Help people navigate systems designed to crush them." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Ironic, considering I now operate outside those systems entirely." Isla squeezed his hand. "You could still go back, finish your degree." "No." Definitive. "That door closed when I chose this life, when I chose Reed over everything else." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "But maybe I can find something new to want, someone new to build toward." The weight of his gaze made her pulse quicken. "Is that what I am? Something new?" "You're everything new, everything I didn't let myself imagine was possible." He lifted her hand, pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "Everything I'm terrified I'll destroy by touching." "You won't destroy me. You can't know that." "I know you." She leaned forward. "I know you check Reed's room every night to make sure he's breathing. I know you increased my salary without me asking because you saw my secondhand textbooks. I know you're gentle with broken things even when you pretend you're not." Dominic's expression cracked, vulnerability bleeding through. "Don't make me into something I'm not. A hero. A good man." "I'm not. I'm seeing exactly who you are, flaws included, and choosing you anyway." His kiss across the table was brief but intense, a promise and a plea tangled together. They talked for 3 hours, about Reed's progress in school, about Isla's dreams of teaching full-time once she graduated, about Dominic's frustration with business partners who didn't understand the difference between calculated risk and reckless stupidity. Easy conversation punctuated by touches that grew bolder, his hand on her thigh, her fingers tracing his forearm, the accidental brush of knees under the table that didn't feel accidental at all. Walking to the car, Dominic pulled her into an alley between buildings, pressed her against brick and kissed her like a drowning man finding air, his hands in her hair, her fingers clutching his jacket. Boston's night sounds fading to nothing except their shared breathing. "I want to take you home." His voice was rough against her neck. "Not to the estate. Somewhere private where I can hear every sound you make without worrying about staff or Reed or anyone else." Heat pooled low in Isla's stomach. "Then take me home." The apartment occupied the top floor of a converted factory overlooking the harbor. Modern, masculine, floor-to-ceiling windows offering views of water and city lights. Minimal furniture, clearly a space Dominic used but didn't live in. A place to escape when the estate became too much. He poured whiskey, handed her a glass. They stood at the windows watching boats trace paths through dark water, the silence comfortable but charged. "I haven't brought anyone here before." The confession made Isla turn. "No one. Business associates to the estate, never here." He set down his glass. "This is mine. Separate from the empire, the obligations, the performance of being Dominic Valenti." "Then why bring me?" He moved closer, hand cupping her face. "Because you're already part of everything that matters. Reed, the estate, my thoughts every waking moment and most sleeping ones." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "Seemed pointless to keep this separate when you've already infiltrated everywhere else." Isla set down her own glass hands, sliding up his chest. "Infiltrated, like I'm an enemy operative. Worse, you're someone I can't defend against." His forehead touched hers. "Someone who makes me want things I swore I'd never want again." "What things?" "Normalcy, peace, a future that isn't just survival and damage control." His hands spanned her waist. "You. In every way I can have you." The kiss started slow but escalated fast, his mouth demanding her response equally fierce. They stumbled toward the bedroom, still tangled together, clothes disappearing between kisses and whispered confirmations that yes, this was what they both wanted. The first time was urgent, desperate, like they'd been starving and finally found sustenance. Dominic's hands reverent despite the hunger driving them both. Isla's fingers mapping muscles and scars that told stories he'd share later. Their bodies learning each other's rhythms, finding synchronization that felt inevitable. After wrapped in sheets that smelled like him, Isla traced the largest scar across his ribs. "What happened?" "Knife fight. 3 years ago. Business disagreement that got physical." He caught her hand, kissed her fingers. "I won." He didn't. The casual mention of killing should have disturbed her. Instead, Isla just pulled him closer. "Do you regret it? The life you chose?" Dominic was quiet for a long moment. "I regret that I had to choose, that circumstances forced me into this instead of letting me find my own path." He rolled to face her eyes, searching hers. "But I don't regret protecting Reed. Don't regret building something from the wreckage of my father's death. And I sure as hell don't regret you." His kiss was softer this time, tender in a way that made her chest ache. "Stay tonight, tomorrow, every night if you're willing." Isla smiled against his mouth. "What about Reed?" "Reed is 15, not 5. He'll survive." Dominic's hand slid down her spine. "And Mrs. Rosa will make sure he gets to school on time." "You're very confident about this." "I'm confident about you, about us." He pulled her on top of him, hands anchoring her hips. "Everything else I'll figure out as we go." They made love again slower, learning what made each other gasp, where to touch for maximum impact, how to draw out pleasure until it became almost unbearable. Afterward, Dominic held her like she might disappear if he loosened his grip. Morning came with harbor light painting everything gold. Isla woke to Dominic already awake, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite name. "What Just memorizing this. You in my bed, looking at me like I'm not a monster. She reached up, traced his jaw. You're not a monster. You're a man who made impossible choices and survived them. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, he grabbed it with a muttered curse, read whatever message appeared. His entire body went rigid. What's wrong? Reed has a virtual biology session this morning with his teacher. The way Dominic said teacher carried enough venom to kill. Dr. Marcus Hayes. Isla blinked at the sudden shift. Okay. He has virtual sessions twice a week. How old is Dr. Hayes? The question came out casual. Too casual. I don't know. 25, maybe? Why does it... She stopped, stared at him, realization dawning. Are you jealous of Reed's teacher? No. Dominic stood pulling on pants with jerky movements. I'm being cautious. There's a difference. Dominic, he teaches through a screen from his apartment in Cambridge. He makes Reed laugh. I saw the last session. He makes biology jokes. That's his job. Dominic's jaw clenched. Cancel the next session. Isla sat up, sheet pooling around her waist. Absolutely not. Reed is finally engaging with his coursework. I'm not sabotaging that because you're feeling possessive. I'm not possessive. He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. Fine. I'm possessive. Sue me. Despite herself, Isla laughed. You're being ridiculous. Probably. He stalked back to the bed, caged her with his arms. But you're mine. And the idea of some 25-year-old teacher making you smile the way you smile at me makes me want to commit felonies. He's Reed's teacher, not mine. Doesn't matter. He's in my house on my screens teaching people I care about. Dominic's eyes blazed. And I don't share well. Isla pulled him down for a kiss. Then it's a good thing I'm only interested in one criminally possessive man. His answering smile was dangerous. Good. Keep it that way. They returned to the estate by noon. Reed met them at the door with a knowing grin that made Isla's face burn. So, how was your night? Dominic's glare could have melted concrete. Do your homework. Already done. Unlike some people, I don't need sleepovers to stay on top of my responsibilities. Reed's grin widened. Get it on top of... Reed. The warning in Dominic's voice finally penetrated. Reed held up his hands in surrender. Fine, I'm going. But for the record, you two are terrible at being subtle. He grabbed his backpack. Also, Dr. Hayes' session starts in 10 minutes. Don't be weird about it, Dom. He disappeared upstairs. Dominic's expression darkened. I'm not weird about it. You're extremely weird about it. Isla touched his arm. But it's kind of adorable. I'm not adorable. I run a criminal enterprise. You can be both. His kiss was brief but thorough. I have meetings until 6. Try not to let Dr. Hayes make you laugh too much. He's teaching Reed, not me. Doesn't matter. I'm still going to hate him on principle. Dominic pulled her close. You're mine, Isla. I don't care if it's irrational or possessive or completely inappropriate. You're mine, and I'll fight anyone who forgets that. The declaration should have felt suffocating. Instead, warmth bloomed in her chest. I'm yours. Only yours. His smile was pure satisfaction. Good. The biology session went fine. Dr. Hayes was professional, enthusiastic, and completely focused on teaching Reed about cellular respiration. But when Isla laughed at his mitochondria joke, she looked up to find Dominic in the doorway, expression thunderous. After the session ended and Reed left to grab lunch, Dominic stalked into the study. That's it. We're hiring a new biology teacher. Dominic, an old one, female, preferably married with grandchildren. Isla stood, moving into his space. You're being insane. I'm being protective. His hands found her waist. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Protective means I ensure your safety. Insane would be tracking down Dr. Hayes and explaining exactly why making you laugh is hazardous to his health. He pulled her closer. I'm choosing protective. How noble of you. I thought so. His mouth found her neck. Now tell me I'm the only man who gets to make you laugh like that. Isla's fingers tangled in his hair. You're impossible. That's not what I asked. You're the only one. She tilted her head, giving him better access. Happy. Getting there. His teeth grazed her pulse point. But I might need more convincing. The kiss escalated fast. Would have led somewhere completely inappropriate in Reed's study if Mrs. Rosa hadn't knocked discreetly on the open door. Mr. Valenti, you have a visitor. Dominic's entire body tensed. He pulled back, expression shifting from desire to deadly focus in seconds. Who? Bianca Cross, from the Chicago operations. Something dark flickered across Dominic's face. He stepped away from Isla, putting professional distance between them. Show her to the east parlor. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Mrs. Rosa nodded and disappeared. Dominic turned back to Isla, jaw tight. I need to handle this. Business. Okay. It might take a while. Don't wait up if... Dominic. Isla touched his face. Handle your business. I'll be here when you're done. Relief flickered in his eyes. He kissed her once, hard and possessive. Mine. Yours. He left. Isla tried to focus on preparing materials for Reed's afternoon session. Tried not to wonder who Bianca Cross was, or why Dominic looked like he'd seen a ghost. 20 minutes later, curiosity won. She found Reed in the kitchen making a sandwich. Who's Bianca Cross? Reed's expression soured. Dom's associate from Chicago. She runs their West Coast operations. He assembled his sandwich with more force than necessary. Also, she's been trying to sleep with him for 3 years. Ice flooded Isla's veins. Oh, don't worry. Dom's never been interested. She's ruthless ambitious and sees relationships as transactions. Reed met her eyes. Nothing like you, which is exactly why he chose you instead. The reassurance helped, slightly. Has she been here before? Couple times, always on business, but she makes it clear she'd be open to mixing business with pleasure. Reed's expression turned protective. You want me to accidentally spill something on her expensive suit? I'm very clumsy when motivated. Despite her anxiety, Isla laughed. No sabotage necessary. I trust Dominic. Good, because he's completely gone for you, like embarrassingly gone. The kind of gone where he threatens biology teachers for making you smile. Warmth spread through her chest. He told you about that? Didn't have to. I heard him on the phone with his security team asking about Dr. Hayes's background. Reed grinned. My brother is many things. Subtle is not one of them when it comes to you. The meeting lasted 2 hours. When Dominic finally emerged, tension radiated from every line of his body. He found Isla in the library, pulled her into his arms without preamble. Sorry that took so long. Everything okay? Business complications. Nothing you need to worry about. His hold tightened. But Bianca will be staying in the guest house for a few days while we finalize some arrangements. Isla's stomach dropped. Oh. Dominic pulled back, tilted her face up. She means nothing. You understand that Reed said she's been interested in you. Reed talks too much. He kissed her forehead. Bianca sees me as a useful connection, a way to advance her position in the organization. I've never been remotely interested. But she's here now. On business. Only business. His eyes searched hers. You're who I want, Isla. Only you. Bianca could show up naked in my office and I'd still only think about getting back to you. The image made Isla laugh despite herself. That's quite a declaration. I mean every word. His kiss was thorough, claiming, you're mine and I'm yours. Nothing changes that. Not business associates, not biology teachers, not anything. Dinner that night felt different. Bianca joined them elegant in a way that made Isla acutely aware of her own university clearance rack wardrobe. Perfectly styled dark hair, designer suit confidence that came from years operating in Dominic's world. She kissed Dominic's cheeks in greeting, continental, familiar. Her hand lingered on his arm just long enough to feel deliberate. "Dom, you're looking well. Boston clearly agrees with you." Her eyes slid to Isla, assessed, dismissed. "And you must be the tutor. How lovely. Dom's always had a soft spot for education." The condescension landed like a slap. Before Isla could respond, Dominic's hand found hers under the table. Squeezed. "Isla is more than a tutor. She's with me." Bianca's smile froze. "With you?" "Yes, as in, she's mine, permanently, in every way that matters." His voice carried steel underneath the courtesy. "I trust that won't be a problem during your stay." Something flickered in Bianca's eyes. Calculation. Recalibration. "Of course not. How wonderful for you both." The meal proceeded with tension thick enough to cut. Bianca dominated conversation with references to people and places Isla didn't know. Chicago operations, New York connections, deals that required coded language Isla couldn't parse, making it abundantly clear she belonged in Dominic's world in ways Isla never would. Reed kicked Isla under the table, mouthed solidarity. It helped. Slightly. After dinner, Bianca touched Dominic's arm again. "Walk me to the guest house. We should discuss tomorrow's meetings." Dominic's jaw tightened. He looked at Isla. "I'll be quick." She nodded, tried to ignore the way Bianca's smile turned triumphant. They left. Reed immediately grabbed Isla's hand. "She's awful and transparent. Don't let her get in your head." "I'm not." "Liar, you're spiraling." He squeezed her fingers. "Dom loves you. Like genuinely, stupidly loves you. Bianca could strip naked and offer him Chicago on a silver platter and he'd still choose you." The image made Isla snort despite herself. "That's the second naked Bianca reference today." "Because it's true. My brother is disgustingly loyal when he actually cares about someone." Reed's expression turned serious. "He cares about you, Isla, more than I've seen him care about anyone since Dad died." "I know, I just—" She paused. "She fits here, in this world. The business, the danger, all of it. And I'm just—" The reason he smiles again. The reason he wants to be better instead of just surviving. The reason this house feels like a home instead of a fortress. Reed's voice was fierce. "You're not just anything. You're everything that matters." Tears pricked Isla's eyes. "When did you get so wise? Born this way?" "It's a burden." She laughed, hugged him tight. "Thank you." "Anytime. Now go wait in Dom's room so when he gets back from walking the vulture to her perch, he finds you instead of spiraling alone." Dominic returned 30 minutes later to find Isla curled in his bed wearing one of his shirts. The expression that crossed his face made every minute of anxiety worth it. "You're here." "Where else would I be?" He crossed to the bed, pulled her into his arms. "I thought maybe Bianca got in your head, made you doubt." She tried. Reed set me straight. Isla pulled back to see his face. "Did she proposition you subtly? Mentioned how convenient it would be if we formalized our partnership through personal connections." His hand cupped her face. "I told her I was already personally connected to the only woman who matters." "How did she take that?" "About as well as expected. But she's smart enough not to push when I've made my position clear." He kissed her softly. "You're mine, Isla. That's not negotiable or temporary. It's permanent." His kiss deepened, turned hungry. They made love with urgency born from fear and reassurance tangled together. Afterward, Dominic held her like she might evaporate. "I love you." The words stopped Isla's heart. "What?" "I love you." His voice was rough but certain. "I've been trying not to say it, trying to give you space to figure out if this is real, but I'm done pretending I don't feel it every time you walk into a room." Tears spilled down Isla's cheeks. "I love you too, so much it terrifies me." His smile was blinding. "Good. We can be terrified together." They fell asleep, tangled in each other, the future uncertain, but the present perfect. 3 days later, everything shattered. The breach notification hit Dominic's phone at 4 in the morning. Isla woke to him already dressed, jaw tight, his carved marble phone pressed to his ear, speaking in clipped sentences that made her stomach drop. When how many files, no lockdown, everything. I want eyes on everyone who's been in this house in the last month. He ended the call, stood motionless for 10 seconds. Then his fist slammed into the wall hard enough to crack plaster. Dominic, someone accessed our operations files. Sensitive information about routes, contacts, payment structures. His voice was glacial. From inside this house, from a laptop connected to our network. Ice flooded Isla's veins. Who? He turned. The look in his eyes made her flinch. That's what I'm going to find out. He left without another word. Isla dressed with shaking hands, mind racing. The estate employed dozens of people, staff, security, business associates. Any of them could have her laptop sat on the desk where she'd left it the night before. Charging. Innocent. Except it wasn't where she'd left it. She always positioned it parallel to the desk edge. Now it sat at an angle. Someone had moved it. Breakfast was silent. Reed picked at his food, shooting worried glances between Isla and the empty chair where Dominic usually sat. Mrs. Rosa moved through the kitchen with unusual efficiency, her mouth pressed into a thin line. Where's Dom? Reed's question came out small, scared. Meetings. Mrs. Rosa's tone discouraged further inquiry. At 9, one of Dominic's security team appeared in the study doorway. Marcus, 6'4" of muscle and barely concealed suspicion. Ms. Hartley, Mr. Valenti needs to see you in his office. The walk to the east wing felt like a death march. Staff members avoided her eyes. The hallways she'd come to love suddenly felt hostile. Dominic's office was exactly as she'd imagined. Dark wood, leather furniture, books on criminal law and business strategy sharing shelf space. A desk that probably cost more than her car. Dominic stood at the window overlooking the gardens, back rigid. He didn't turn when she entered. Close the door. She obeyed, stood waiting, counting heartbeats. Finally he faced her. The man looking at her bore no resemblance to the one who'd whispered love confessions 3 nights ago. This was the crime boss, the killer, the man who broke people, who threatened what was his. My security team traced the breach. The access originated from your laptop, your credentials, your IP address. The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's not possible. I would never. Wouldn't you? He moved around the desk, each step deliberate, predatory. You show up out of nowhere. Perfect credentials, perfect timing. Work your way into Reed's life, into mine, get access to everything. Dominic, I love you. I would never betray. My father loved the man who killed him, trusted him completely, right up until the moment that trust got him blown up in his own driveway. His voice could have frozen fire. So you'll forgive me if declarations of love don't mean much when faced with evidence. Tears burned Isla's eyes. What evidence? Someone used my laptop without my knowledge. That doesn't mean... There's more. He pulled a tablet from his desk, pulled up security footage. Your phone GPS, places you supposedly visited in the city, meeting coordinates that match known Romano family locations. Isla stared at the screen, watched herself or someone with her phone move through Boston to addresses she'd never seen. I've never been to those places. Someone cloned my phone, my laptop. Or you're a very good liar who got caught. The words shattered something in her chest. After everything, you actually believe I could do this? I don't know what to believe. His control cracked for just a moment, pain bleeding through. All I know is my father died because someone close betrayed him. And now sensitive information is compromised and all evidence points to you. So what? You're just going to condemn me without investigating? I am investigating, which is why you're confined to the guest wing until I sort this out. The pronouncement landed like a sentence. You're locking me up. I'm keeping you safe. His jaw clenched. If anyone in my organization thinks you're the leak, they'll come for you. This way I control who has access. This is insane. I didn't do anything. Then you have nothing to worry about. But his eyes said he didn't believe her, said he'd already made up his mind. Marcus appeared in the doorway, silent, waiting. Dominic's voice was empty. "Escort Miss Hartley to the West Guest Suite. No phone, no laptop, no contact with anyone except Mrs. Rosa for meals. Dominic, please." "Go, Isla." His back was already turned. "Before I do something I'll regret." The guest suite was comfortable, elegant, a beautiful prison with locked doors and guards outside. Isla paced for an hour before collapsing on the bed, tears finally breaking free. She'd chosen him, chosen this life despite the danger, chosen to believe in the man underneath the monster, and he'd thrown it back in her face the moment his world was threatened. Footsteps in the hallway, the lock disengaging. Isla looked up expecting Mrs. Rosa with lunch. Instead, Reed slipped through the door, expression fierce. "This is bullshit. Reed, you shouldn't be here. Dom's being an idiot, a paranoid, traumatized idiot." He crossed to the bed, grabbed her hands. "You didn't do this. I know you didn't. Your brother has evidence. Evidence can be faked, planted." Reed's jaw set with determination that reminded Isla painfully of Dominic. "Someone's setting you up, and I'm going to prove it." "How?" He pulled a phone from his pocket, not his usual smartphone, something older, prepaid. "Mrs. Rosa gave me this. She doesn't believe you're guilty either." He pressed it into Isla's hands. "The house has security footage going back months. If someone accessed your stuff, there'll be proof." Hope sparked in Isla's chest. "The footage is on Dominic's private servers. I can't access—" "But I can." Reed's smile was slightly manic. "Dom taught me basic system navigation when I was 12, said I should understand how our security works." "Reed, if he catches you—" "He won't. He's in meetings with his security team all day trying to figure out damage control." Reed squeezed her hands. "You saved me, Isla. Gave me reasons to care about school, about life, about anything after Dad died. Now I'm returning the favor." He left before she could argue further. Isla clutched the phone, heart hammering. 3 hours passed. 4. Isla watched the sun move across the sky through windows she couldn't open, doors she couldn't unlock. At 6, the phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Found something. Sending video now." The file loaded slowly. Security footage from the study. 2 weeks ago, late evening. Isla watched herself leave after finishing Reed's homework. The study sat empty for 30 seconds. Then Bianca entered. Isla's breath caught as Bianca moved directly to the desk, pulled out Isla's laptop, connected a small device, USB probably, fingers flying across the keyboard. The timestamp showed Bianca worked for 12 minutes before disconnecting the device and leaving. Another video loaded. The hallway outside Isla's guest room, 3 nights ago. Bianca again slipping inside while Isla was at dinner with Dominic and Reed, emerging 6 minutes later with something small in her hand. Isla's phone. The evidence was irrefutable. Bianca had cloned both devices, planted the access trails, framed Isla perfectly. But why another text appeared? "Keep watching." A third video. Audio this time. Bianca on a phone call in the guest house. "The girl's locked up. Valenti thinks she's the leak. Yes, I'm certain. The evidence is airtight." A pause. Then Bianca's voice again, colder. "Your men can move on the estate tonight. He'll be distracted trying to figure out if his girlfriend betrayed him. Security will be stretched thin looking for external threats, not expecting an internal assault." Ice flooded Isla's veins. The voice on the other end was muffled but male, authoritative. "Good work, Bianca. Your father will be pleased. The Valenti empire ends tonight." The call ended. Isla stared at the phone, mind racing. Bianca's father. Victor Romano. The rival who'd killed Dominic's father. This wasn't about framing Isla. This was about destroying Dominic's family completely. And she was locked in a room while it happened. Isla tried the door. Still locked. Tried the windows. Sealed. Hammered on the door until her fists ached. "Marcus. Anyone I need to see." "Dominic?" No response. The guards had orders. No contact. She grabbed the prepaid phone, called the only number she had. Reed answered on the first ring. "Did you see the videos?" "Yes. Reed Bianca's working for Victor Romano. There's an attack coming tonight. You need to tell Dominic." "He won't listen. Not to me, not about you. He's convinced you're guilty, and anything defending you is just me being naive." Panic clawed at Isla's throat. "Then get out. Get somewhere safe. If Victor's men attack, there's a panic room. Dom made Dad install it after he became target of the Romanos years ago." Reed's voice was steady despite the fear underneath. "But the codes got updated last month. I don't have the new sequence." "Where's the panic room?" "Basement, behind the wine cellar." Isla's mind raced. The estate layout, secret passages Reed had shown her during tutoring sessions talking about the house's history. Old servants' corridors from when the place was built, most sealed now but some still accessible. "Reed, remember the passage you showed me, the one from the second-floor library to the basement?" "Yeah, but it's been blocked for—" "Not completely. You said the door was stuck, not sealed." Isla's pulse hammered. "Can you get to the library without being seen?" "Probably. Why?" "Get to that passage. Force the door if you have to. Follow it to the basement. I'll meet you there." "How you're locked in the—" "Just trust me. Get to the passage. Now." She ended the call, stared at the locked door, then at the window. The suite was on the second floor, 15-foot drop to the gardens below. Isla had watched gardeners work that section all week. Soft mulch beds, better than concrete. She grabbed the desk chair, swung it at the window. The glass shattered on the third hit. Alarms immediately shrieked through the estate. No time for subtlety now. Isla knocked out the remaining shards with the chair leg, climbed onto the sill. The drop looked farther from up here. She jumped. The landing drove the air from her lungs. Pain shot through her ankle, probably sprained. She forced herself up, limping toward the side entrance she knew connected to the servants' stairs. The door was locked but old. She grabbed a decorative stone from the garden path, smashed the window, reached through to unlock it from inside. Behind her, shouts. Guards responding to the alarm. Isla ran. The servants' stairs were narrow, dark. She stumbled up them, ankles screaming protest. Second floor, the library. Reed was already there, shoulder against the stuck passage door, face red with effort. "It won't." Isla threw her weight against it too. The old wood groaned, cracked. One more hit, and it burst inward. The passage beyond was black as pitch. Isla pulled out the phone, used its flashlight. Stairs descended into darkness. "Go. Quietly." They descended in silence, broken only by their breathing, and Isla's occasional hiss of pain when weight hit her injured ankle. The passage ended at a door marked with peeling paint. Beyond it, the wine cellar. Voices filtered through. Not estate security. Strangers. "Spread out. Find the kid. Romano wants him alive for leverage." Isla's blood turned to ice. She pressed against the door, peering through the gap. 5 men, armed, moving through the basement with military precision. Reed's hand found hers, squeezed. The panic room sat 30 feet away, behind the wine racks, visible from where they hid. The men were between them and safety. Isla's mind raced. They needed a distraction, something to draw the men away long enough to reach the panic room. She looked at Reed, mouthed, "Stay here." Before he could protest, she pushed through the door. The men spun, guns raised. Isla threw her hands up. "Don't shoot. I'm not armed. I'm just the tutor. I got lost running from the alarms." The nearest man, tall, scarred, dead eyes, smiled. "The tutor. You're the one who got Valenti all twisted up. Romano will be happy to have you too." He reached for her arm. Isla drove her knee into his groin, hard. He doubled over. She grabbed the wine bottle from the nearest rack, smashed it over his head. The other 4 surged forward. "Run! Reed!" Reed burst from the passage, sprinted for the panic room while the men were focused on Isla. She threw bottles, kicked, scratched, fought with everything she had despite knowing it was futile. A hand caught her hair, yanked her back. Stupid girl. You just made this harder on yourself. Then gunfire erupted from the stairs. The man holding Isla dropped, blood spreading across his chest. Dominic descended the stairs like an avenging angel, gun in hand, face carved from rage and lethal focus. Behind him, his security team fanned out. The firefight lasted 30 seconds. When it ended, all 5 intruders lay dead or dying. Dominic's eyes found Isla, scanned her for injuries. "Where's Reed?" "Panic room. He's safe." Relief cracked his control for just a moment. Then he was moving, crossing to the wine racks, entering the code. The panic room door opened. Reed emerged, face pale but unharmed. Dominic pulled him into a fierce embrace. "You're okay. Thank God you're okay." "Isla saved me. She figured out about the passages. Got me here before they found me." Dominic looked up, eyes meeting Isla's across the carnage. Before he could speak, more gunfire echoed from upstairs. "Sir." Marcus appeared at the stairs, bleeding from a shoulder wound. "We've got at least 15 more hostiles. They're coordinated, well armed. This is a full assault." Dominic's jaw set. "Get Reed to the safe vehicle. Full escort to the secondary location." "What about you?" "I'm ending this." He turned to Isla. For a moment, everything he hadn't said lived in his eyes. Then he was all business. "You too. Go with Reed. Stay safe." "No." His expression hardened. "This isn't negotiable." "You were wrong." The words burst out. "You accused me, locked me up, didn't trust me, and I'm still here, still fighting for you, for Reed, for this family." Tears streamed down her face. "So no, I'm not running. Not until you hear the truth." Marcus pulled out a tablet, showed Dominic the videos Reed had found. They watched in silence. Bianca accessing Isla's laptop, cloning her phone. The phone call confirming the setup. When it ended, Dominic's hand shook. "Isla, you were scared. I understand that. Your father died from betrayal and you saw the pattern repeating." Her voice cracked. "But I loved you, love you, and you threw that away the second you were tested." "I know. God, I know." He crossed to her, hands framing her face. "I'm so sorry. The evidence, the fear, everything my father went through, I panicked. Made the exact mistake I swore I'd never make. You didn't trust me. I was terrified of losing Reed, of losing you, of being wrong again the way my father was wrong." His forehead touched hers. "But that's no excuse. I should have believed you. Should have investigated before condemning. Should have remembered that you've never given me a single reason to doubt you." More gunfire. Closer now. Marcus's voice was urgent. "Sir, we need to move." "Where's Bianca?" Isla's voice was steel. "Guest house. Under guard." Dominic's eyes hardened. "She'll be dealt with." "No." Isla pulled the prepaid phone from her pocket, showed him the call recording. "She's working for Victor Romano. This whole thing framing me attacking the estate, it's Victor's revenge for your father's death." Understanding dawned in Dominic's expression. She gave him the security protocols, the entry points, everything he'd need to breach the estate. "Which means she knows where the weak points are." Isla met his eyes. "But I have an idea." 10 minutes later, Isla approached the guest house flanked by 2 of Dominic's men. Bianca stood at the window watching the chaos at the main house with barely concealed satisfaction. She turned when Isla entered, smile sharp as broken glass. "Isla, I'm shocked you're not in custody. Or dead. I wasn't picky about which. Dominic knows. About the framing. About your father. All of it." Bianca's smile didn't falter. "Then you're here to kill me. How tedious." She moved to the bar, poured whiskey like she had all the time in the world. "You don't have it in you. You're too soft, too innocent. Everything Dominic thinks he wants until he remembers what he actually needs." "You're right. I don't have it in me." Isla stepped aside. Dominic entered, gun in hand, expression colder than Isla had ever seen. Bianca's composure cracked. "Dom, you have to understand. My father—" "Your father killed mine, and you've been planning revenge for years." His voice was flat. Dead. Working your way into my organization, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything. It wasn't personal, just business. Bianca set down her glass. You understand business, Dom. Sometimes sacrifices are necessary. You tried to hurt Reed, made me doubt Isla, brought armed men into my home. He raised the gun. That's where business becomes personal. Bianca's eyes widened. You won't kill me, not in front of your precious tutor. She'll never look at you the same way. Dominic didn't look away from Bianca. Isla, leave. No. Isla moved beside him. You said I'm yours, that we're in this together. She met his eyes. So I stay. For all of it. Something shifted in his expression. Gratitude, love, pain. He lowered the gun. You're not worth the bullet, or the memory it would create for Isla. He turned to his men. Call the FBI. Tell them we have evidence of Victor Romano's operations and someone willing to testify in exchange for witness protection. Bianca's face went white. You're turning me over to the feds. I'm giving you a choice. Testify against your father. Give them everything they need to dismantle the Romano Empire. In exchange, you get to live. His smile was cruel. Or refuse. And I let it slip to your father that you were caught, that you might talk. Let him handle you his way. The color drained from Bianca's face completely. He'd kill me. Exactly. So choose. 20 minutes later, FBI agents swarmed the estate. Victor's assault team had retreated when reinforcements arrived, Dominic's allies from other cities responding to emergency calls. The bodies were being processed. The evidence collected. Bianca sat in federal custody, already singing like she'd been promised immunity. Isla found Dominic on the terrace overlooking gardens now lit by police vehicles and searchlights. It's over. He didn't turn. The attack is over, but Victor's still out there, wounded, angry. He'll regroup, come back. Not if the FBI gets him first. Bianca's testimony, the evidence you've been collecting, will put him away for decades. Maybe. Dominic finally looked at her. But the cost was worth it. Reed is safe. You're alive. We're standing here. I accused you. Locked you up. Didn't trust you when you'd given me every reason to trust you. His voice cracked. How do you not hate me? Isla crossed to him, took his hands. Because I understand fear. Understand what losing people does to your ability to trust. She squeezed his fingers. You made a mistake. A bad one. But you're also standing here trying to make it right instead of defending yourself. That matters. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway. She pulled him close. For better or worse. Through accusations and attacks and FBI raids, all of it. His kiss was desperate, grateful, full of apology and promise tangled together. When they separated, his forehead rested against hers. I love you. More than I've loved anything except Reed. More than I thought I was capable of loving. I love you too. Even when you're being an overprotective, paranoid crime boss. Former crime boss. He pulled back. The FBI wants cooperation. Full disclosure on operations in exchange for immunity. They want me to go legitimate. And you said, I said yes, on one condition. What condition? He dropped to one knee, pulled a ring from his pocket, simple band, antique gold single diamond. My father's wedding ring, redesigned. Everything flashy in my life came from blood money. But this, he looked up at her, this came from love, from a man who loved his family more than power. Tears streamed down Isla's face. Dominic, marry me. Not because I deserve you, because I want to spend every day for the rest of my life proving I can be worthy of you. His voice shook. Marry me and make this family official. You me Reed. Something real built from all this wreckage. Isla dropped to her knees in front of him. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, kissed her like she was oxygen, and he was drowning. When they finally separated, Reed's voice came from the doorway. Finally, I thought you'd never ask her. They both turned. Reed stood there grinning despite the chaos around them. "You're engaged. This is the best thing that's happened since Dad died." Dominic stood, pulled his brother into a hug. "We're going to be okay, all of us." "I know, because we have Isla now, and she's too stubborn to let anything happen to us." Isla laughed through tears. "Damn right." 3 months later, the FBI had dismantled Victor Romano's empire. Bianca's testimony, combined with evidence Dominic had been collecting for years, proved devastating. Victor himself was arrested trying to flee to Mexico. Facing life in federal prison, Dominic's cooperation earned him immunity from prosecution. His legitimate businesses, real estate security, consulting, private investigation, thrived without the criminal operations underneath. The estate felt different, lighter, like something dark had been exorcised. Isla finished her degree, started teaching full-time at a private school in Boston. Came home every evening to Dominic and Reed and the family they'd built from impossible circumstances. The wedding was small, 6 months after the proposal. Reed as best man, Mrs. Rosa crying in the front row, a handful of close friends and Dominic's legitimate business partners. They stood in the estate chapel, Isla in simple white, Dominic in a dark suit that made his eyes look like smoke. The vows were traditional until Dominic added his own. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, hurt people, crossed lines I can't uncross, but the one thing I got right was you." His voice was steady despite the emotion underneath. "You saw the monster and loved the man anyway, gave me reasons to be better instead of just surviving. And I promised to spend every day earning that faith." Isla's voice shook with tears. "You gave me everything when it was dangerous and impossible. A family, a home, love I thought only existed in stories." She squeezed his hands. "And I'd choose you again, every single time, in every version of our story." When they kissed, Reed cheered loud enough to make everyone laugh. The reception spilled into the gardens, dancing under string lights, food and wine and joy that felt hard-won and therefore precious. Late in the evening, Dominic pulled Isla onto the dance floor, just them. Everyone else faded to background. "Happy?" She smiled against his chest, deliriously. "No regrets about the chaos, the danger, all of it?" "Not a single one." She looked up. "You're mine, Dominic Valenti. Monster man, everything in between, and I'm keeping you." His smile could have lit the stars. "Good. Because I'm never letting you go." They danced until the moon rose high, until Reed fell asleep in a chair exhausted from celebrating, until Mrs. Rosa finally shooed them toward the honeymoon suite with knowing smiles. In the morning, a letter arrived. Unmarked, anonymous. Dominic opened it, read the single word inside, vengeance. For a moment, old fear flickered in his eyes. The knowledge that Victor had allies, that revenge was a disease that spread through organizations like plague. Then Isla's hand found his. "We'll handle it, together." He looked at the letter, then at his wife, at the future they'd fought for. He fed the paper to the flames in the fireplace, pulled Isla close. "Nothing from that life matters anymore. Just this. Just us." And for the first time in 20 years, Dominic Valenti meant it. The past was ash. The future was theirs. And they'd defend it together against anything that dared threaten what they'd built. Not because it would be easy, but because some things were worth fighting for. And love, real tested, proven love, was worth everything.